NFL Inside Blitz Week 14 is here, and I'm in a little bit of pain, Theodore, because Brazil just lost, and my Lions lost last night. And I know you're going to ask how they lost. They lost a little bit of draft position in a painfully disturbing game. It felt like deja vu all over again. What did you think about that? You were at that game in the press box.
Here's the depth chart. Here's my press credential, and I don't have to ask for my money back because it was pretty bad game. It was tough to watch the first half. Interesting that a lot of the in the media room where they line up, they usually serve like little hamburger sliders and mini hot dogs at halftime, so the media can get their freeloading taken care of when they're there. And it was a long line of people and not in a hurry to get back to their seats to watch the second half. Okay. And there it was. I stayed until there was 3 minutes and 46 seconds left. And then I wanted to beat the traffic home because I didn't have to be there. And it was, I watched the rest of it in my car driving out of there. And I still cannot believe that Baker Mayfield, the same guy that we have seen for the last few years that pulled out that game, that was truly one of the great Hollywood endings in NFL history. We've never seen anything like that. Now, here's the thing. Las Vegas Raiders, the fourth time they have blown a lead of 13 or more points in the game this season. And it's, I think 3 of them were 17 or more.
You're taking on my copy I've written down.
Well, I'm here to help you. Anyway, bottom line is they're a joke right now. Their defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, how he has a job, and I'm not one of these guys who say, hey, go get this guy, fire him. I hate that stuff because it's a job. He's got a family and all that kind of thing. Bottom line is that guy's hanging on by a piece of dental floss, and I don't know how they could keep him. Literally. What do you think?
Well, I'll one-up you because they lost 4 double-digit leads that they had at the half. And they lost 2 games involving a quarterback that was with the team less than 2 days and a head coach that was in the broadcast booth the week before. So exactly. It's fascinating. Let's kick off being with Sports USA Live, doing the in-game the intermission, halftime shows and stuff. You get the player access. Let's start with the first game you have, which is unfortunately the less desirable, but nevertheless.
No, the first game is the desirable one.
Well, let's start with the late game with the Kansas City.
You want to get that one out of the way.
Let's get that one out of the way.
Okay, well, you got the Chiefs at Denver, and Patrick Mahomes is 9-0 in his career against the Broncos. And, of course, Denver has lost 13 straight to Kansas City. So there's a lot of negatives there. And talk about how surprising it is that a guy still has his job. How the hell does the Denver coach still have his job? New ownership, all that kind of stuff. Hey, good luck. I'm happy for him. Maybe he'll last the rest of the year. And if they lose out, doesn't matter at this point anyway. Bottom line is, it looks like it could be a total blowout. But one factor, the Denver defense is playing great. I mean, they're keeping them in games. There are 7 one-score games that the Broncos have lost by this year, and that's because their offense stinks. It is embarrassing. And whatever Russell Wilson is eating these days, he needs to change his diet because it ain't working, okay? The new Russell Wilson is not what we're used to around here. And Kansas City can clinch a division with a win and a Chargers loss. So, bottom line is, can the Chiefs just take care of biz and get the 10-3 on the season? They certainly should be. They're 9-point favorites. I think they opened up just over a touchdown favorite. Is that correct?
No, they did open somewhere around 8.5. And they did touch 9, but they're actually on downwardly mobile, down to 8.5.
Really? Well, again, it's all about the Denver D there because there's no reason to bet Denver except for their defense because they can't score.
Well, Tyreek Hill has been sitting out, and I think a couple of other key players.
Tyreek Hill has been sitting out all year for the Chiefs because he's with Miami. Who are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right.
You scared me there. I thought maybe they got him, and I didn't hear about it. Who are we talking about?
Somebody was. Well, maybe I'm confusing it.
Look, bottom line is the Chiefs should be dominant in this game, and all they have to do is get a lead. And how is Denver going to make it a game offensively? That's a major problem. I did get to speak to the Broncos tight end Greg Dulcich, a UCLA guy. I'm here in LA. He had a really nice career here under Chip Kelly, and he's a rookie now. He missed the first 6 weeks because of injury, and tried to get some good stuff out of him. A few laughs early on. Why don't we hear from Greg Dulcich and get that one started?
Hey, Greg, I got to ask you before we get started on this, how weird is it knowing that your Bruins are soon leaving the Pac-12?
I think it's going to be a good move for him. I'm excited to see him compete against some of those Midwest boys.
The bigger boys, right?
I don't know about that.
Sometimes they are. They're pretty beefy. Hey, by the way, a quick personal Chip Kelly story. When he was a high school hockey player in New Hampshire, he used to listen to my radio play-by-play of that state's first pro hockey team in 1978. I let him know that during his initial news conference, and he forever has called me the hockey guy. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I bet you didn't even know he played hockey in high school, did you?
I knew he played some hockey, and I knew
did you?
He's from New Hampshire and all that. Yeah.
Okay, so he talked about it sometimes?
Yeah, he talked about, how he kind of grew up every once in a while.
Oh, good. Oh, good, because, he's not exactly a stand-up comic or anything.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, I'm wondering, speaking of Chip Kelly, has it been sort of an advantage for you going from his offense, knowing that he was in the NFL coaching for years, as opposed to a different type of offense coming into the league?
Yeah, totally. Because, while we were at UCLA, we were running all of his stuff that he was doing in the NFL, all of his Eagles stuff, his 49ers stuff. So a bunch of it translates directly, to the NFL. And so it made picking things up, pretty, a lot more straightforward. And yeah, definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable, when I came here.
How about the transition into the league? Difficult adjustment learning the pro blocking schemes compared to college. Do you have to put on any extra weight or learn any different techniques?
Definitely had to learn a lot of new techniques, especially with the way that we try to run the football. A little different than we were in college. So,
right.
It's kind of been a matter of honing in on those details and, kind of working those new techniques and fundamentals.
Not exactly the way you wanted to start your rookie season on the injured list for the first 6 weeks. I'm just wondering how frustrating was it watching your team and knowing that you thought you could help them?
Oh, totally. You get that itch, the second that you're off the field, you want to get back on. But, what was great is, everyone, kept me involved. All my teammates, all my coaches, made sure I knew what was going on. And, I'd try and, kind of put myself in practice, mentally and, get those kind of reps. But yeah, definitely not being able to be out there physically and contribute was tough. But, having guys on my side, to look after me and, make sure I'm good mentally really meant a lot.
How great was it, though, to get your first NFL TD in your hometown against the Chargers? And if I remember, you were wide open that night.
Yeah, it was definitely a special moment. Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to KJ for clearing it out for me. And Russ obviously for putting it on me. But yeah, it was cool because I had, a lot of family there at that game. And to, do that in front of all them for the first time was super special.
We're with Denver rookie Greg Dulcich, and by the way, the third tight end picked in this year's draft. And got to talk about your Broncos offense and what you think the main issues are that's caused you guys to be held under 20 points in 10 of 12 games. Specifically, the play calling has been ever-changing.
There's a lot of things that we got to kind of figure out and a lot of things that we got to execute better. I think that's really the biggest thing is just execution across the board. Every position group we got to be better, and that's kind of the focus. Week by week is working those fundamentals and making sure that we're sound on all of our assignments and all that. And
yeah, I was going to say the one key word is finishing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You got to figure you're going to need to score a heck of a lot more this week with Kansas City's offense in town, and they're first in the league in overall offense. But you guys got a great D. Talk about this matchup, and are you guys discussing a 13-game losing streak against them at all?
Yeah, I mean that's something that we've definitely taken notice of, and it's something that we feel as an organization we got to change. We got to flip the script really, and with the defense playing the way they are. It'll be a great opportunity for the offense to, step up and, kind of, follow their lead with them, playing great football and stopping everybody. It'll just be a matter of, like we said before, just finishing in all phases.
And how do you see how Russell is dealing with this tough stretch here, along with the extra pressure on your rookie head coach?
I think we're handling it really well. We're looking at things, analytically and, fundamentally. What's great about this team is no one's, pointing any fingers at anyone. That's something that I think could easily be done. But what's great, especially, defensively, all those guys have our backs. And with how great they've been playing, they've been motivating us and, they've been, trying to get us better. So, really hats off to the defense for being such great teammates. And, what's great about this, organization, we're all in this together. We all know that in order to succeed, it's going to take every one of us. So
great. And last thing, Greg, the biggest challenges you're seeing facing this Kansas City D?
Yeah, I mean, they're a really talented bunch. They got some real big time players. And so we're just going to try to attack them, with our players and, with our techniques and, we're just got to, play better football than they did. It's that simple.
Yep, exactly. Well, listen, man, I appreciate the time very much. We have a thing here. We call it Sports USA Karma. When you come on the pregame show, tend to have good things happen. So we're looking forward to your second TD coming up. How's that?
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget that when you're laughing in the end zone. All right.
Yeah, it'll be on my mind.
All right, man. All the best. Appreciate it. Happy holidays to you.
Yeah, sounds good. Merry Christmas.
That's Denver tight end Greg Dulcich. Sounds like a really nice guy. He said nobody's pointing fingers at each other. Okay, that's my job. Coach, I'm pointing my finger at you. You guys are a joke offensively. And that's Aaron Rodgers' old buddy in Green Bay. He's supposed to be an offensive guy. What the hell is going on in Denver?
Exactly.
Pretty bad.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. We needed to set an over-under on ums there.
Yeah. You got Kansas City, first in yards per game in the league, first in passing, first in points per game, and Denver last in scoring offense. That is a damn bad matchup in that respect.
Well, if they could get any offensive cooperation, they would be dangerous. I mean, I don't have the stats handy, but it's remarkable, how well the defense is in comparison to how poor the offense is.
There's third or second in the league in three important categories defensively. So, I mean, it's not like they're keeping themselves in games all the time, but every single time it's an unwatchable offense. It is that bad. There it is.
But I don't have Denver at the bottom. I mean, surprisingly enough, there's people doing worse, but it just seems like they just can't get over that hump. We're going to take a look at another chart that shows just the differences of results if you can just get an extra score.
Yeah. You big time. Big time. And by the way, the Chiefs are coming in here not too thrilled about losing to Cincinnati last week. So that's an added boost from an energy standpoint for them. They're gonna come on the road. They don't give a damn where it's in Denver or it's somebody else's backyard. They're going to be full speed ahead. So it's going to be fascinating. Again, a chance to clinch the division too.
Do you? I agree 100% with you. I think I wouldn't want to be facing Kansas City off of that loss. Cincinnati seems to have their number, and I think it's going to make Kansas City even more focused. And Andy Reid really had a blunder in that game. We talked about it on Tuesday with Ron. By the way, Ron did not send in his check to participate in this program this week. So as soon as he gets payment that's cleared, we'll allow him back on the show.
If that's the case, I'm surprised he's ever on this program when you think about it then.
He is a little frugal. Not much else to say about the game. As far as betting, I kind of like Kansas City. The metrics actually say that Kansas City is a play without a teaser, but I kind of like a teaser option, getting that under a field goal, because that elevation in Denver can be suffocating, and Kansas City isn't required to win by margin. So that's my outlook on it.
By the way, from an elevation standpoint, from what I understand, guys telling me and what I've heard over the years, the elevation does not affect the visiting team as much the second half of the year. Early on in the year, it's more of a factor. Now, I don't know. That's a factor in the betting and all that. That's a separate issue. But from actually how it affects you, how deep you could take breaths, it's not as difficult when you get into the wintertime, from what I'm told.
Is that based on the temperature?
No, you know what? I don't know. It's got to be, because it's wintertime, but I don't know.
Well, somebody Google it and let us know.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath there, in other words.
Now, you were able to procure a nice interview, a couple of interviews on the next game, which is the Jets and Buffalo. The Jets beat Buffalo in the first meeting in New York.
Yep.
And the game has moved to Buffalo, and we're down to about a similar point spread that we saw when Buffalo was on the road. Any optimism that the Jets will be able to replicate and take the Bills down again?
Well, this is a totally different team, obviously, the Jets, because they got a new quarterback, even though he's been hanging out in the sidelines a lot. Mike White, who kindly joined me yesterday, and we'll hear from him in a minute. This is the first time Buffalo's been home, really at home. Not in Detroit, their other home. They're at home. They're at their Mafia Stadium for the first time since Week 10. So, I'm sure they got to be excited just about that. Look, revenge, I don't like the word when it comes to this kind of it. This is a big divisional game. And both the guys I spoke to Isiah McKenzie as well, the receiver for the Bills. We'll hear from him in a few minutes. They both talked about the importance of this game, not just a divisional game, but now that we're down to the last 5 weeks, this is huge, because the Jets are 2-2 in the division, and Buffalo is only 1-2. And that's a very important factor. If the Bills lose this game, they have dug themselves a strange hole. Everybody's still saying, well, they should be, the Buffalo should be the Super Bowl favorites. 1-3 in the division? That would be something you got to deal with. So anyway, very important stuff.
Well, who do you want to start with? Let's start with Isiah McKenzie.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm sorry, what position does he play for the Bills?
He's a wide receiver, very important cog in the offense there for Josh Allen.
Very good.
Isiah.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on our show.
No problem.
Absolutely. Hey, 6th year. Can you believe it?
Hey, it's been a long journey.
Yeah, but a good one.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, I got to ask you, how does it feel to be the Super Bowl favorites from the beginning this year, and knowing everybody wants to beat you more than ever? That's got to be a little different than the typical season.
Oh, yeah, it's very different. You know what I'm saying? We got a target on our backs. We understand that, and we understand, everybody's out for us, and we get that. But, we try to flip the script a little bit and say we're the hunters, and we don't want to be hunted. So that's how we try to take that mindset, even though we are hunted every single week, and every single week we got to bring our A game because they're after us. But we understand the mission, we understand the motive. So,
yep, whatever works is a good challenge, right?
Yes, sir.
How's the timing of this mini bye week after that nice Thursday night win in New England?
It's perfect timing. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of guys banged up. Just it's good to get a little 3-day break and just, hey, everybody get as healthy as you can these next few days. We practice, and wherever we're at, next week, that's what we're gonna roll with. But for the most part, it was awesome. It was just time off, time away from football, just a little bit, not a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of time, just to get your body back under you and your mind right, so we can go into these next 5 games and give the best shot we got.
Yeah, what does it mean to your club to get 3 wins in 12 days after losing a couple of straight close ones?
that's amazing. You know, it shows that, you know, we can face adversity, you know, by losing games, and also just have to, you know, relocate and things like that. Just a lot of adverse things coming our way, you know, in those moments. Like, we losing games, and then we got to travel to Detroit and travel back to Detroit, and then got to play on Thursday again. So it was kind of like, hey, we just gotta buckle up and play. And then when we get to this, like you said, this little mini bye week we had on Thursday, you know, after Thursday's game, we can rest a little bit. But now we just gotta put our foot back on the gas.
We just learned today about Von Miller. How much does it hurt to lose this guy for the season, and what he brings to your team?
Yeah, that was a tough one. We heard it today, and you know, we're praying for him. You know, we hope he, you know, comes out healthy and everything's well with him. But you know, that hurt us. You know, I wouldn't say it hurt us, but it was kind of like, you know, Von's a great guy on and off the field, and you don't want to see that happen to him. And he's a great teammate, and he's also a hell of a player. So you never want to see that happen to one of your guys. But we understand injuries happen, we understand things happen, and we just got to keep the main thing, and that's win football games. And I'm pretty sure he wants that for us as well. Like, just, hey, don't worry about me, I'll be okay. Just go out there and win football games, so we have a chance, you know, at the end of the year. Yeah,
I'm here in L.A., by the way, and I don't think there's any way the Rams win the Super Bowl without him.
Yeah, he's awesome. I was with him in Denver my first year, so
that's right. We're with Bills receiver Isiah McKenzie, and how do you describe the evolution of Josh Allen's success on the field and as one of your leaders?
He's been amazing. You know what I'm saying? I've been there since his rookie year, so I've seen him grow and develop, and it's been amazing, the journey for him to just go out there and prove a lot of people wrong. You know what I'm saying? That doubted him in the beginning. And it's been amazing to see where he's come from and where he's going. But I'm glad I'm on his team. I'm glad he's throwing me the ball, and I'm glad he's a part of the Buffalo Bills, because he's the reason, you know, this whole place moves, and we're all behind him.
Isiah, are you aware of the stat that your Bills are 8-0 when there's a touchdown catch by Stephon Diggs this season?
Don't tell him that. But no, you just told me. I just learned that just now. But yeah, Steph, you know, great receiver, amazing receiver, one of the best in the league. So like, every time he scores, we're happy, and you know, he just got to keep it up. So if we got to find a way to get him in the end zone this week, we got to do it just so we can keep that streak up.
By the way, some guy named Isiah has at least 4 catches in 3 of his last 4 games, and an outstanding day on Thanksgiving. So how do you assess how they're using you right now and your skill sets at this time?
I'm just, you know, being part of the game plan, just putting me in more, giving me more routes, you know, getting the ball in my hands in space and things like that. It just let me work. And I know they believe in me and things like that. And I know, you know, it's been a up and down season, not just for me, but for, you know, each individual on our team. And I fought through, you know, some little adverse times during the season. And, you know, now I'm here. And now, you know, playing better football is November, December, and I got to bring my best football. And I understand that. So, you know, I appreciate them for just, like, believing in me and being patient with me. And now it's just my turn to step up and do my job.
Okay, 2 more things real quick. Well, what'd you learn from that 3-point loss at the Jets a few weeks ago against their D? And now you get to face them in front of that Bills Mafia in the snow.
We learned that we got to finish. We know that, you know, they're a hell of a team, got a hell of a defense, and they're gonna play their best football. And like you said earlier, everybody, we have a target on our backs. You know what I'm saying? We're, you know, quote unquote Super Bowl favorites from everybody in the NFL. So we got targets on our back, and we know the Jets are a hell of a team, and they're gonna bring their best. They're gonna bring their A game. And we saw it last week. They played Minnesota. It was a close game, and you know, they're in a lot of close games, and we just got to come out on top this week.
And by the way, it's not just another game, as you guys like to say.
Oh no,
because you're 1-2 in your divition. They can go to 3-2. That matters.
Oh, of course, it does matter. You know, you just got to give you that political answer, like, hey, like, it's just another game. But it's not. It's just not another game. We understand what the mission is and what the goal we need to accomplish this week. You know, just for the division's sake.
We got to have you on more often, Isiah. I love your answers. You're great. Thanks for coming on,
brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. All the best. Happy holidays and stay healthy.
Same to you.
Now, how do you not root for a guy like Isiah McKenzie? of the Bills. Next time you see him catch a touchdown pass, remember how open he is. You know, a lot of these guys, as you know, and you've heard them forever, they don't want to talk too much. This guy, I could have spoken to him for another hour. I mean, he was.
I like how I think you surprised him with the divisional record. I don't think he understands how important it is, though.
He does now.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, but I just sense that you kind of surprised him on that one.
Well, you know what? I mean, these guys don't try to look at that stuff as much as they got a job to do, and that's win. Whatever their circumstances are, they're just trying to win. And, you know, it's stuck in their brains by every coach and mentor they have. Don't pay attention to the outside noise. Just do your damn job. And if it's good enough for a win, that's all we care about. And they try to avoid this stuff. My job to make sure they don't avoid this stuff.
Well, he still let that the Bills are the favorites to win it all roll off his tongue just a little bit easier than I would have liked to have heard it roll out, quite frankly, because
I thought it was more refreshing, though, that he actually said it. No, 99% of the guys would never even say it. You know?
That's true.
You know. So anyway, bottom line is they're a confident group, and they should be. But they've got some issues, and they got some running game issues. And now it's cold weather time, where usually the run game comes into play. And they need to get more than their quarterback trying to be a freight train and run through everybody.
No, I know Ron threw you some questions for Mike White, and I threw you some questions for Mike White. And I'm going to be really interested because I really like this guy. He's been panned and dismissed as not very good. And you know, the debacle that happened in Minnesota last week with 6 red zone trips and no touchdowns, that wasn't entirely on him. He moved that ball well. One of his interceptions was not his fault. And the last interception, he had no choice. I mean, he had somebody right on him, and you can't get sacked with the ball. You can't throw it out. You got to throw it there, and it was an interception. So I don't think either of those interceptions were horrible. And I think he shows some promise. So I'll be interested to see where you went with him.
Yeah, well, we'll hear from him in a second. Just a little background on how we got Mike White, because most of the time we don't get quarterbacks. I would say at least 90% of the time we don't get quarterbacks. But Mike White is a college friend of our play-by-play guy, Josh Appel, who just happens to be calling that game. I don't know if it's coincidence or not that our management made sure he was there. I doubt it. I think it's just he fit the bill. And but anyway, they're buddies. And I had Josh contact Mike during the week and say, hey, we want to get him on the air. And he was kind enough to do that. So that's great. And, you know, an interesting stat. He's only played 2 games here as the starter, right? The Jets are already averaging 6 points more per game with him as the quarterback. 6 in 2 games. I mean, and their offense is totally different. The guy threw 57 passes last week, and before that, they didn't want Zach Wilson to throw 5 passes if they can get away with it, right? So it's a different look, and you got to love the confidence that the coaching staff has in him. So let's hear from Mike White, exclusive one-on-one here.
Very good. And he's 5-0 to the over.
Mike, first, I've got to know how satisfying has it been getting to show everybody, hey, I'm capable of doing this, and especially at the tough New York Jets fandom level.
Yeah, it's been really fun to be able to go out there and just play football and play with your boys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We've tried our best to just have as much fun as possible with it, and while executing and trying to win games.
Any mental adjustments becoming the guy under center for the Jets, or is it just, hey, you're a quarterback and you do what you do?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that, but it's just as long as your preparation, no matter the roster spot, is on point, then you should be fine. So I've prided myself in my preparation over the course of the season, and it's just got to stay on that track no matter what's going on.
So how tough was that loss at Minnesota Sunday? So many chances to put them away.
Yeah, it's anytime you lose, it's frustrating. But yeah, we definitely we put ourselves in the position to win, and we gotta do a better job of executing in the red zone.
Has your arm recovered from 57 passes yet?
Yes, it has. We have a very good training staff here.
What's that like, though? I know you threw, I think, 560 passes in your final season at Western Kentucky, so you're used to it. But that's not usually a winning recipe, right?
Yeah, no, it didn't. I honestly didn't even feel like it at the time. Looking back on it, I think it was the next day. Some of the guys were talking about it, and it didn't even feel like that. But I mean, sometimes that's what's necessary to get back into the game, especially when we were down 17 points at the time,
yeah.
And at one point, and yeah, it's just whatever the game calls for, just try to be ready for it.
Yeah, whatever it takes, that's what it gets done. And by the way, what was it like going from Western Kentucky pass-happy offense coming into the NFL? How much did that prepare you for it?
Yeah, I think it did a good job of preparing me for it, especially my junior year under Coach Jeff Brom. We had a lot of similar concepts that I've run throughout my time in the NFL, and he did a great job of teaching me what it takes to play quarterback in the NFL, because he did so himself. But yeah, I think throwing the ball a lot, you learn different things, but again, it's definitely not the same game as the NFL, and you come in as a rookie and you got to almost relearn football all over again.
We're with Jets starting quarterback Mike White, and what needs to be more consistent? You've had this win-loss over the previous 6 games.
I think just execution and stacking wins together, and it just I don't know if there's one specific thing to pinpoint on it, but it's just the overall details and execution and not hurting ourselves.
Now, what do you expect in playing against the Buffalo D in front of that rowdy Bills Mafia and in the snow, and what you learned from just watching that last win a month ago?
Yeah, I think anytime you go up there, it's a tough place to play. Great fans, great atmosphere, and it's a tough defense. A defense that's played together for a long time in the same system, talented from back end to front seven. So you got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be ready to handle some adversity, because it will come, and you got to be able to bounce back from it. And we know it's going to be a dogfight, and we got to be prepared for that.
And how big is this one? We spoke to Isiah McKenzie yesterday, and he wasn't holding back. He said, yeah, all that political stuff. He goes, this one's huge because you guys could go to 3-2 and drop them to 1-3 in your division.
Yeah, anytime you play a division game, it's huge, whether it's in September or December. And yeah, it's a big one. It's the time of year you want every game in December to be a big one, because that means your season's on the right track. So yeah, I mean, try not to make it too big. It's not the Catalina wine mixer, like we like to say, but no, it's definitely a big one.
Yeah, and you get to be the guy in charge, and that is awesome. It's got to be so much fun.
Yeah, just anytime you get to go play football, like I said earlier, it's fun. It's why we all do it. We all want to play and enjoy it with your friends.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the time, and all the best, man. We're looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, and give Josh a few fun calls there.
All right, I will. I appreciate it.
That is Mike White, starting quarterback of the Jets. And Josh, again, is Josh Appel, our play-by-play guy who'll be calling the game on Sports USA National Radio on Sunday. And I mentioned something to Josh last week about the fact that you better have some good calls to make with him. Otherwise, what a downer that would be after all this build-up. But, hey, by the way, the Jets 4-0 after a loss this season, right? Well, and they're after a loss. So,
well, if I were him, when you asked him that question about this every other week, I would have just said, well, we're petitioning the league to just play every other week.
That's great. That's not a bad idea. You know what? If they lose this game, though, again, first time after a loss that they would have back-to-back losses. So, look, the Jets have a new culture, right? We've talked about that throughout the year. It's building every single week. It's under Robert Saleh, it's a whole new ball game. So to avoid back-to-back losses, that's not very Jets-like these years, right? Bottom line, they're a pretty damn good team right now. And if they win this game as a double-digit underdog in the snow, that's going to say a lot.
Is it supposed to snow?
Yes, it is, all game long.
Oh.
Temperature in the low 30s.
Oh, Yeah, it says 35 and snow and 10 mile an hour
Does that
winds.
bother you? Are you going to the game or what?
No, but I used to have Michigan Wolverine tickets, and boy, some of those games were tough because they still to this day just have the bench seats.
Oh, really?
And we had season tickets for like 10 years, and it was funny because they wouldn't make the benches longer, but every year they added a number at the end. And so everybody had to squeeze in tighter and tighter as we all got fatter and fatter. So, but you know what? I would have never thought that a Jets-Bills game would be interesting to me, especially if I don't have any money on it. My metrics pan out that this number is spot on, believe it or not. So I think that the Jets are better than people think they are.
Yeah, I do too.
And it would not surprise me to see, as you mentioned, with that running game, if that running game gets completely stopped by the Jets and Buffalo becomes one-dimensional, that's going to be interesting to see how Buffalo is able to, really put up some points. And I think the Jets can actually score on the Bills. So
right.
If I have to bet this game, and I may bet it as a recreational play against, without metrics supporting it, I do like the Jets to cover this game somehow. And I don't know what your thoughts are on it. Do you have an opinion on it?
Yeah, I lean towards the Jets for sure because that's a lot of points for a team. It was a close game the last time, right? They intercepted Josh Allen a few times. And I think part of that equation is because the Bills don't have let's just say a solid running game, all right? A dependable running game. And they need to do more of that in this last month of the season. So this is the perfect test in that department. And why would it be any different this week? I don't see why. And the Jets defense is solid. So I'd take 10 points in this game any day.
And the trailing last 5 weeks on each of these teams is about similar. The Bills are 21st and the Jets are 16th. So same neighborhood there. So I guess that's what we have on that game. I wanted to point out something that I tweeted out this week that got a lot of play. And it is, what if every one possession NFL game had the opposite result?
Wow. That's an interesting stuff. Which easily could be in every single game, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we'd have an upside down NFL standings.
So the glaring thing that everybody's been pointing out, obviously, is who would be in last place in the NFC.
Wow.
And that would be the Minnesota Vikings getting all the attention.
That is great.
I just think it's interesting. I don't want to stay on this too long, but you look at the Lions up there at number 2. You look at the Falcons that are way up there. Even the Seahawks, Bears, Cardinals, and Panthers, their seasons would be much different just with that scoring difference. And the AFC, for gosh sakes, the Browns, the Raiders, the Jags. But the Bills are there either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
49ers are there either way. And
well, you know what this tells me is that's a coaching issue in many ways, okay? And look at some of the teams that would have been, could have been, should have been, but they're not very good because they find a way to get the L, and that ain't good. And the Raiders are a great example of that. And so are the Browns, actually. You know, the Browns and the Chargers, I think those are the two teams before this season started. And we, including Ron and you, talked about preseason, saying they have the deepest rosters. Maybe not the best, but the deepest. And they can afford a few more injuries, and because they've got a little bit of everything on there, and their GMs did a great job, and neither team is coming through. And that's a disappointment. And let's look at their coaching. I think they're both potentially in trouble.
You know what? I don't know what it is, but I can just sit there and stare at this for way too long and just dream about, I see where I pissed away money down the drain. And people ask, well, how can you keep on riding the Jaguars? And it's like, well, they're supposed to be 8-4. They're one play away from 8-4. That's why I'm betting the Jaguars every week.
No, that's one play away 8 times, not
And
one play away.
And the Falcons have been costing me. The Seahawks have been costing me. And, those have been where the leaks have been.
I love the little stat on the right, though. The upper and lower number that means so much. I think you did all this though just to put your Lions in first place. That's my.
No, I cannot take credit as indicated in the top in the football's K Ford ratings.
I can't see that. It's too small.
Right. So I gave them the proper credit on my tweet.
Are they related to Ford Field at all or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
But boy, the Lions did announce that they have released the standing room only tickets.
Really? For the first time in how many decades?
Well, they probably had to go to print and go, and create them.
I think actually the last time they did this, Alex Karras was there standing. So it's been a long time.
No, they did it on Thanksgiving Day against Buffalo.
I'm just joking. Good for you.
I wanted to take a look. I thought it would be a good idea because we haven't checked in on this in a couple of weeks. Let's take a quick glance at the AFC playoff standings after Week 13 and their remaining schedules. The Patriots, Chargers, Raiders, Browns, Steelers, all outside looking in.
Yeah, well, look at Buffalo. I mean, how's that for a schedule coming up here? You got 2 road games, one of them at Cincinnati. There's few gimmies. You'd think at Chicago, but you never know if Justin Fields is playing and could put up 30 points again. And I just think it's fascinating because it always comes down to the last few weeks for most teams. And we just joked about the 1-score games, but don't be surprised if there's a bunch of those involved right here that'll send somebody on vacation early.
Well, it seems pretty clear to me that the Kansas City has that inside track for that
no doubt.
Very important number 1 seed that gets you the only bye in each conference because Denver, Houston, Denver again, Las Vegas, Seattle, for gosh sakes, they really should have 4 out of those 5 games.
That's what it looks like.
And you look at Buffalo, and they could have some trouble with Miami. They could have some trouble with Cincinnati. They could have some trouble with New England.
Even at Chicago, because that's a weather game.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's why I look at it. Of course, all their games are weather games now, right? Because they're Buffalo.
I think the Patriots are going to have a hard time getting into the playoffs. The Chargers, boy, that's going to be iffy too.
Well, look, Chargers. This is a very important game they played. We were supposed to have the Chargers Miami game on Sports USA, but they flexed it off to the Sunday night game. I think this could be the career for Brandon Staley with the Chargers. If he loses this game, we might see Sean Payton there next year. That's a possibility.
I think the Chargers fans, wherever they are, because they're certainly not at the games, would love to see that higher because they're not getting Michigan's Harbaugh. That's for sure.
No,
that these are the AFC standings are not playoff scenarios are not as exciting as the NFC. I don't think. Oops, I lost them all.
I was just getting started reading it too.
Well, I'll get it back here.
That's all right. There it is.
There we go.
NFC.
Now, the NFC is a hell of a lot more interesting because I have, and Ron has Washington to make the playoffs, and that tie put Seattle back in last week and knocked Washington out. Seattle's going to have some problems. I think the Jets are a better team. I think Kansas City's a better team. San Francisco and the Carolina seems to be like the public underdog this week.
Yeah, they look like they might go 2-3 down the road, and then they're dead.
Yeah, and you look at the I promise you, Washington's not going to lose this week, and then. But they've got two. You know what? Their schedule's not a cakewalk.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
San Francisco, Dallas, Cleveland with Watson. Maybe those Lions can sneak ahead, right?
Well, let's look at the Lions. Boy, I know you're begging and praying over there that can actually happen. Look, their offense has been phenomenal right now, and the defense is doing the job so far. It's maybe a toss-up between the Lions and the Packers, and they still play each other one more time at the last game. That game,
spite your tongue. I don't think the Packers are going to make it, having to beat Miami and Minnesota and Detroit and even the Rams. I mean, the Rams obviously have the number one quarterback of the week.
They're not too worried about the Rams.
I know, but
and Minnesota's on your BS list, as a phony team. So why couldn't they beat them? One-score games, baby. One-score games.
You know what? I had not, but even being a Lions fan, I had not taken a close look at this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm all joking aside, I honestly believe that today the Detroit Lions are the best team in that division. They are on all cylinders. They have a top 10, top 5 receiver. They've got the number 1 touchdown making machine, and that's not even Swift. So add Swift to they've got Chalk or whatever his name is. They've got a top 4 or 5 offensive line. Goff has had the fewest sacks. All his metrics are very good. The team metrics are amazing. They're scoring on 55% or 54% of all their drives.
That's amazing.
They're number 1.
They've had 6 games of over 30 points this year. That's the most in the league.
They're number 1 in the league in red zone offense. Now that they're healthy, I believe that they are honestly today the best team in that division. And I'm not trying to insult Minnesota. I think Minnesota's a good team. I think Detroit's a very good team right now. And all their defensive metrics have climbed too.
Big problem, though. 3 of the 5 games are on the road. That's not the way you want to finish the year. But if you're good enough, you're good enough. So it's going to make it interesting. And it could be the most exciting finish for you personally to watch your boyhood favorite team do something special down the road for the first time in a hell of a long time.
Well, I would like to see the Eagles tripped up somewhere. Boy, they may not get tripped up, but it seems like the Eagles certainly have the inside track on that number 1 slot.
It looks like it. I mean, look, there's only one obvious game that looks really tough, and that's at Dallas because it's just the fact that it's a road game. Everything else is winnable. They play the Giants twice, and the Giants are they're doing the toilet bowl thing now. They're flushing downward, unfortunately. And bottom line for them is they're not that good yet. They're still learning how to be good. And they've done an unbelievable job. We talked about it all season, how Daboll is in the discussion as one of the coach of the year guys, but they don't have enough playmakers yet.
I was a little bit concerned with my San Francisco to win division futures, but I think that they, when you look at Seattle and how they have to finish.
No, they're in good shape.
San Francisco does seem to have, even with the backup, I think they have a pretty good chance of winning that division.
Yeah, I think if they win this week against Tampa Bay, they're in great shape. Because then, yes, you got to go to Seattle, but Seattle's not been a great home team, even though they talk about their 12th man. They've been nothing special at home in the last few years. And you got Washington at home, you're at Vegas, and then you got Arizona at home. San Francisco is in the driver's seat, and they're already almost at the finish line.
Oh, what's that?
What's that?
I don't see you. I don't know whether they can see you.
I'm here.
Okay. Let's see here.
So bottom line here, Chris, is, I love the way you set up the last 5 weeks here. I'd like to see that chart every week. That'd be a great way to really get an overall view of where we stand. But this is an important week for so many teams. Yes, a couple of them can clinch playoffs and or divisions, but it's big games for catapulting themselves into the last month of the season, and very important games.
I am going to share my last 5 weeks chart here if I can get it organized.
Go
I'm
for
having technical problems.
That's all right. It's more fun watching that, It's
trying to move it over.
This is where Ron would be filling in with total BS, but that's okay.
I know. I'm not sure this is going to come. Oops, there we go.
There we are. Oh, can you make it a little smaller? I forgot my magnifying
glass. It took me an hour. Oh, okay, everybody can see you. I can't see Ted. You're blocked out on my side, but this is what I have rankings from top to bottom.
Okay.
For the trailing last 5 weeks. So,
all right. Well,
take off and run with it, guys.
It's small print. I'm trying to read it, but I do see Detroit on top.
Yeah, I can't make it any bigger.
No, that's all right.
So, but you have Detroit and Dallas. Detroit number 1, Dallas number 2. The Raiders, kick rocks and get the hell out of Dodge. Washington. Doing pretty well. San Francisco doing well. All these teams are pretty obvious. The one surprising team, and I think that's why you see some action on Carolina this week, is Carolina's been trending upward, and they've got the quarterback change, so something to take note of there. The Chargers are getting better.
By the way, Carolina, one stat to absolutely not forget. They have lost 9 straight on the road. Okay, so that's hard to forget. That's the longest active streak in the league. That has to change immediately.
I'm trying to get this bigger.
And by the way, the NFC South is so
there
awful.
We go.
There you go. That's a great job. NFC South is such a joke right now that Carolina's only 2 back at Tampa Bay, and they've lost 9 straight on the road. It's unbelievable.
I think, when you're looking at the bottom of the list, probably no surprise Chicago. Obviously, it's a surprise Minnesota's down there.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's lower than I would have thought. The Giants, they're fading fast. Tampa, even though they come out with that win, boy, that was very unimpressive. They backed into that, obviously.
Huge game this week, though, at San Francisco for the Bucs.
Yeah, and a lot of people are high in Arizona this week for some reason. But, the New England's playing significantly better, even over, for the season-long metrics and for the trailing 5 weeks. We'll have to see there. But they're going to have to finally score some touchdowns. I think they've only scored like 7 touchdowns since week 7 or something, I heard.
Yeah, well, that's a Monday night game. The only reason there'll be any focus on it whatsoever. Why would a lot of people be high in Arizona for any reason at any time for the rest of this season? They could be eliminated from the playoffs with a loss here. They bore the hell out of me. So I don't know what to tell you.
Now, we did look at that previous chart that showed Atlanta basically, suffering from 1-score losses. And as pointed out, Atlanta's playing better than the Jets recently. So
yeah, and they're going to their rookie quarterback from here on, Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. He's taking the reins for the Falcons the rest of the way. They're on a bye week, so he gets to practice all he wants. We'll see what happens there. It's too bad because I actually think Marcus Mariota's had a pretty decent year, for a very average offensive skill sets that they have. Although, I do love the fact that they got Drake London, and he looks like he's the real deal.
I think it's a good idea for them to put Ridder in the lineup for the rest of the season. Their future is not with Mariota, and you're right, he's done fine, but at some point you got to get Ridder some time out there.
Yep, no doubt, absolutely. And next week they are at New Orleans, so that should be a win.
Let me scroll back here, see if we have any questions. Zach asks, has the NFL season been more variance than a usual season? You go to the back of the class, Mr. Wise Ass. Everybody knows it has been. So Very disappointing. There's always got a smart ass in every category. Hey, there, we already answered this question. Does Carolina have a chance to upset Seattle? Well, they're playing
Why not?
pretty well. They're trending upward. I think they're feeling better with this quarterback. They got rid of they gave away their quarterback to the Rams that they didn't need.
Yeah, PJ Walker doesn't excite me too much. Look, again, they have to break a 9-game road losing streak. And Seattle, this is pretty much a desperate game for them. They need to win this game. They should win this game. They're expected to win, not just by the average human out there following it, but I think in the room, they know they got to win this game. Otherwise, they're probably done as far as the playoffs are concerned.
All right, Ted, this is a question for you.
Okay.
Which is the better bet? +3.5, -110, or money line +170?
Boy, you talk about generic question. Can I have the two teams, please? Which teams are we talking about?
I think that is irrelevant.
I totally disagree with you. Totally. Look, if I think that a team is probably not going to win, but I sort of like it to be a close game and they tend to play close games, give me the 3.5. I'm not worried. I don't have to worry about, do they need to win? Yes, I love the +170. It totally matters to me what the teams are.
I think it's very close, and I do have some place to look it up, but I don't have access to it at the moment. I'm going to guess. I mean, it's marginally different. I'm going to guess that I would rather have. I think the +170 is probably better. And
I like plus anything.
And here's how I'm problem solving it as a guess: is I look at the Jaguars money line.
Yeah.
And they're only giving you 165, and that's a 3.5 to 4. That's a strong 3.5. So, and you look at another one. If you look at another game, Tampa and the 49ers is
3.5, right?
You can't get +170 on that game anywhere. So that's how we problem solve this. Is I bet you when I look this up afterward that the +170 is the better one.
Okay, so it's +170 more typical that maybe it was started out at 4, dropped to 3.5, but whichever the book was never dropped the money line, because sometimes you can get that and steal it, right?
No, that happens all the time. And then in larger games like Super Bowls and championship games, the money lines get out of whack when in any games that the public bet very heavily, because
major value out of that sometimes, right?
You can get excellent value. When the Giants were 14-point underdogs in the Super Bowl, the money line was as if they were 7 or 8-point underdogs. It was because they were just getting annihilated.
That was
the
Patriots one when they upset them, right? What was the money line on that game? You remember?
I don't remember, but I remember that it was. I want to say you could get on a 14-point favorite. You could lay -350,
right?
And that is, and a -350. Kansas City's -400, and they're 9-point favorites.
Okay,
so that's how out of whack that one was.
Yeah, that's totally out of whack. Yeah. By the way, that Super Bowl when Eli to David Tyree, that's one of my favorite stories of my career, which I wrote about extensively in my book Touching Greatness, which is available on Amazon for all you folks out there for the for the Christmas time. Great stories with Eli. There it is.
There you go. Touching Greatness.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
It seems that's well. Okay, I'm not going to make a comment.
No, it's okay. Please do.
I don't know.
I'm used to it.
And in today's society, the use of touching just seems like
Well, my wife thinks it's about her, and I told her you're not even in the book, so forget about it. Good try.
Let's see what Birdie has to say. When you mention public dog, does a 2.5-point drop wipe that out a bit? Usually lines don't move that much on those plays to me. A 2.5 point swing lessens that angle. No, it enhances that angle. If the underdog's being bet, the more it moves, the worse it's going to look, frankly, unless I'm misunderstanding that question. So, if you have a dog that started as 7 and it goes down to the 4.5, that's the public dog.
Right. Absolutely.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding. Well, that's all the questions we have. Do you have any other words of wit and wisdom? I know next week we have
your team, the Detroit Lions.
It's about damn time.
Well, you got to earn coming on Sports USA, and they've earned it, right? I mean, seriously. Have they earned it? According to you, they're the best team in the history of the league right now.
No. I mean, if they lose this week, they'll be back. It'll be a bad loss. But if they win this week, the narrative is going to be mighty interesting for that game. Just imagine if the Jets upset Buffalo and the Lions beat Minnesota, what kind of a game that's going to be.
Well, you know what? At the beginning of the year, we always set up in advance the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of scheduling on Sports USA, and obviously try to pick the best matchups, right? There was nowhere that we would have picked Detroit at the New York Jets at the beginning of the year in week 16. No way.
You know what? I forgot to ask you a question. We're not going to hit this subject overall because everybody's aware of this. There are coaches that are overwhelmed in this league. We've seen 2 games in a row, 2 primetime games, 16-3, 3 minutes to go, and somehow these teams lose. You see, even Andy Reid made a blunder against the Bengals. Campbell for the Lions. If they lose a game, it's probably because he made an in-game error or 2. There's a lot of these situations. In your experience of being involved with the league and doing so many player interviews and such, do you have any sort of insight or interesting stories or anything related to some sort of bad coaching or disgust with coaching or something along those lines where there's whispers behind the coach's back that he's in too deep, or there's hatred or anything along those lines?
Well, there's a lot of that. Most of the time, somebody like me goes in the locker room after the game. The guys are not going to spill their guts out to me, especially into my trusty little microphone. That's the last place they want to talk about that. They can't wait for me to leave the room so they can say it as loud as they want in front of everybody else. And when their coaches are in the coaches' room with the door closed. But I go way back, I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe like the USC days, right? With Paul Hackett, for example. Does that name sound familiar, Paul Hackett?
I know Buddy Hackett.
Yeah, well, that's who's coaching the Denver Broncos right now.
I know.
Okay, that's Paul's son. Okay, that ain't good. And it's not supposed to be a stand-up routine, but they're doing it right now. It's laughable. And when he was coaching at USC, I know the guys didn't like what he was doing. And there'd be a lot of head shaking going on until they finally said, we got to get this guy out of here. Even the last few years of USC, towards the end of the John Robinson era with the Rams, when he was getting up there in age, I think the guys thought that some of his offense was antiquated, and he was more of a defensive coach anyway, and loved the run game, and they didn't like that. So, I mean, you would hear that all the time, but specific stories, I wish I had them for you. I'd have to be literally at home with these guys saying, okay, Ted, I trust you, but I don't want you to talk about it on some podcast with some guy, Las Vegas Chris, eventually either.
Yeah, but you got to know some tidbits. You don't have to name names. Jesus. At this point, a professional like yourself should have made something up by now.
When did I become a professional? I thought you're supposed to. I thought professional means you get paid. Isn't that a professional?
Or you pay.
Okay. Look. To me, there was so many eye rolls and head shakes in locker rooms when you bring up playmaking or lack of throughout the years. There's hundreds of them, but to actually give you specific stuff, it's very rare when the guys will open up about that. And that's just the truth. One of my favorite things to do is to bring out, and hopefully some of that comes across in the interviews that I put on here on our Inside Blitz podcast, just the fact I try to get something out of these guys that maybe the average interviewer wouldn't try or wouldn't be able to, and some of it is just with a little sense of humor, get their personality. I don't want to hear, oh, we're going to play 110% and that's all I give a damn about. I don't want to hear that. I'm not even going to use that on the air, So anyway, that's part of what I do. And but to get them to tell me the truth, hey, our coach sucks and we need a new one, that's not going to happen very often.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're doing enough loitering, and kind of becoming a wallflower. That's what it takes nowadays to get those inside scoops.
Yeah, good luck getting me in the locker room these days. Are you kidding me? We're barely allowed in just for postgame anymore. Since the COVID era, they love the fact that their room is closed. They'll bring out a couple of guys to us. That's not the way it used to be. Not at all.
Well, I think we have gone over our allotted time, and we will be back next week with the Lions Jets, Cincinnati at Tampa Bay. That's going to have some playoff implications.
Yep.
2 good games to discuss.
Yep.
Ron and I are going to be back on Tuesday, hopefully, if his check clears. And we appreciate everybody joining us. This is a very difficult show because a lot of technical problems and surprises, so very little preparation. But we appreciate people sending in their comments and listening. That helps us out. And I did come up with some nice charts and stuff off the fly.
I love them. I think they're great. Let's do that every week, especially as the season winds down. Those charts from what's left on the schedule, that's everything right now. It really is.
And we're going to get into my most annoying part of the season, and is when you have to really concentrate on playoff scenarios and those charts. I really hate that. It's just as bad as handicapping injuries. So
yeah.
We're going to be getting into that probably starting next week with Ron.
Huge part of the equation.
I just hate it. So maybe I'll give him a discount to come back so that he can make sense out of it all.
$3 an hour, baby. It works for him every time.
All right. Thanks again for joining. And that's my interview.
Oh, you're doing the interviews next week. I like those questions.
That's my imitation of the. All right. Cheers.
Later.